Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our MSME Masterclass. Today's topic is net metering in rooftop solar projects, and we have with us Mr. Animesh Manek to address the same. He is the founder and managing director of Avishakti Rooftop Solar Private Limited. With an over 18 years of extensive experience in engineering, procuring, installing, and maintaining rooftop PV solar power systems across India, Mr. Manek brings a wealth of knowledge to today's discussion. His expertise spans the entire life cycle of rooftop solar projects, from conceptualization to execution and ongoing operations. Mr. Manek is a seasoned industry practitioner and a dedicated learner. He completed a certification course on energy innovation and emerging technologies in renewable energy from the Stanford Center for Professional Development and holds a Master's of Science in Engineering Management from the Florida Institute of Technology, which has equipped him with a robust foundation in managing complex technical projects. His commitment to continuous learning is reflected in his multiple certifications and licenses from prestigious institutes, including the implementation of solar rooftop by entrepreneurs from USAID and standalone solar power systems design and installation from Global Sustainable Energy Solutions India. Moreover, he has completed the grid-connected rooftop solar PV project power plant certification from IIT Bombay, underscoring his deep understanding of solar energy systems integration. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Animesh Manek to this webinar. We look forward to an enlightening session with you and Animesh today.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you very much for inviting me once again, and definitely looking forward to a very productive session.
Thanks, Animesh. Animesh, our first question to you is with regards to the primary advantages of installing photovoltaic systems for small and medium enterprises. So could you please share the advantages with us?
Certainly. So when we look at a small and medium enterprise, there are certain cost factors that they are dealing with. The critical ones are going to be the raw material, the power supply, and the manpower costs that they're going to bear. So considering that power supply cost is one of the most critical factors, and considering the variability in the power cost and the increase in the power cost in the recent times, it has become more critical for medium and small enterprises to consider investing in a rooftop solar system, especially with the net metering policy in place, which allows the solar system to operate without batteries. So thus reducing the upfront cost that was to be borne by the MSMEs to put up a rooftop solar plant. So biggest advantage that we see from going rooftop solar will be a huge reduction in the power supply cost, thus directly impacting their bottom line and having a very positive impact on their bottom line. So considering that rooftop solar has a lifetime of more than 20 years, almost up to 25 years. So having a long-term stability in the power supply cost will help them plan their projections better, plan their expansions better, plan their profit margins better. So considering the direct impact, it is very, very critical to consider rooftop solar for MSMEs.
Got it. And Animesh, how does the energy exchange mechanism work between the consumers and the grid?
So the net metering policy is a very, very carefully crafted policy by the government. What they have taken care of is that the most advantages possible to the customer are there in the policy. The way this mechanism works is that because we don't have any batteries in the rooftop solar system, so whenever the power is generated, either it has to be utilized or it has to be exported to the supply company. In this case, the supply company is your distribution company, whichever the distribution company might be, depending on your location. So the way the exchange mechanism works is that whatever your requirement is, on a priority, you are going to get the power from the solar system for your requirement. And depending on whether there is excess generation or shortfall of generation, you will be importing or exporting power from the supply company. So, and all the import and export will get recorded in the bidirectional meter, which will get installed with the rooftop solar system. So, at the end of every month, instead of getting an electricity bill, which was just showing what is your consumption, instead it will go to an electricity bill where you will get the import and export numbers, and whatever is the net after setting off the import values with export, whatever is the balance left is the only number of units that you will be charged for. So that is the most beautifully done system, I feel, because it has allowed rooftop solar to become a very strong force in the market.
Okay, now let's talk about one of the most important aspect or element when it comes to MSMEs, and this is a question that has been often asked on our episodes: is financial incentives. Could you highlight what are some of the financial incentives that are available for businesses who are adopting solar energy?
Again, government has done a fantastic job over here of providing a financial incentive tool called as accelerated depreciation for the MSMEs to help MSMEs and businesses to adopt rooftop solar. So what it entails is that when you invest, suppose 10 lakh rupees in rooftop solar, in the first year itself, you can actually claim 40% of that amount as depreciation against your taxable income. And considering the slab that you are in, like you might be in the MAT, which is 25%, or you might be in the 30% bracket, you will get equivalent tax benefit from the amount that you have invested in rooftop solar. And this benefit is over and above the savings that you're going to have from the solar generation and the reduction in the electricity bill.
And what are some of the energy buyback arrangements, and what is the role of regulatory bodies in facilitating these energy buyback arrangements?
So government has tasked energy regulatory commissions across the country with the important role of creating these net metering policies. Apart from that, they are managing, there is a component of the net metering policy which states that month to month, whatever excess energy that you have exported to the supply company will get carry forwarded, and it will be stored on record that you have exported extra units to the supply company, and you will get the benefit of that in the next month. And at the end of a 12-month cycle, after you have completed 12 months of exporting, if you have any excess energy balance, then they have come up with a policy of determining a purchase cost of the supply company and compensating the power supply the customer with that additional amount of money at the end of the year. So, for example, if you have generated somewhere around 10,000 units in a year and you have consumed only 9,000 units, you will be having 1,000 units balance at the end of 12 months. And that 1,000 units you will not go to waste. It will not be written off. You will actually be compensated for that extra units also. So that is a very beautiful, wonderful thing done by the regulatory body when it comes to crafting the net metering agreement. They have also made very robust mechanisms to make sure that the supply companies do not shy away from adopting the net metering policy. So initially, when the net metering policy came up, the supply companies were very hesitant and resisting the implementation. So what they did is that they linked the net metering policy with the renewable purchase obligation policy. So what happened is that each and every supply company in our country has been tasked with a renewable purchase obligation. So if they are purchasing 100 units and selling it to customers, they have to have a certain percentage of it. It could be 5%, it could be 6%, 10%, and that percentage of power they have to purchase from renewable projects only. So, considering some states are not having so many large scale, megawatt scale solar projects to for the supply company to purchase the renewable power from, or wind or hydro for that matter, in that case, they can offset their obligation by allowing net metering for the end customers. So the if the customer is generated 10,000 units of electricity in a year, they can actually use that 10,000 units to offset their obligation and not have to pay fines. So supply companies have also been sufficiently incentivized to make sure that they adopt the net metering policy.
Understood. And how does power credit accounting impact the electricity bill for enterprises?
All right. So as I have said earlier, that power credit is something which is being calculated in a different way. Like, instead of it just being a consumption-based electricity bill, it has become a import-export based electricity bill. So in the electricity bill, you see that there is X amount of import units, there is Y amount of export units. And the difference of that, whether it could be a net positive or a net negative, depending on that, your benefits will matter and your bill will reduce. So when it comes to the credit part, if you have done extra supply, then in the following months you will be compensated for those electricity units as it is. So it's not like a monetary based compensation, it's like the unit based crediting. So that allows the entire benefit to be calculated at the same unit rate at which they are consuming the power, instead of it being at a lower rate or something like that. So this is the wonderful way in which the power credit accounting impacts the electricity bill, and it makes for a very superior performance. So for example, if in the summer months when the sunlight is shining for more number of hours, you will have excess generation. So all that excess generation will get credited. And in the months of rainy season, when the sunlight is not that strong and it's not for so many hours, when you are going to have a shortfall, all that excess units that you have accumulated will be utilized during that period. So you will get all the credit for those units that you have generated. And comparing this to a battery based system, it's a very, very different scenario, because when you are storing some power in a battery, you cannot store it for a period of such an extended period of time. So this allows for a huge amount of benefit for the businesses.
That's very well explained, Animesh. In terms of typical installation costs, Animesh, what are the typical installation costs for commercial solar setup panels?
So the cost of a rooftop solar installation, or for commercial or an industrial entity, is something which varies from site to site. It is not something that is a very standardized process, because every entity has a different roof configuration. So most of the times it is dependent on what capacity which can be installed, how much capacity can be installed, the way it will be installed. So there are different types of roof. There are flat roofs where the roof is having a proper concrete slab. Then there are the shed type roofs where the roof is actually just a shed that is put up on top of the top surface. So these kind of different configurations require extreme kind of customizations to ensure that the customer is getting the most amount of benefit from it. So if I were to say that, considering that there's going to be a huge amount of error margin, there is a range in which the price will vary for for a commercial consumer. That range is going to be anywhere from 40,000 to 50,000 per kilowatt.
Makes sense. And how does the energy credit system affect the return of investment for businesses?
So as I was saying, that the fact that net metering policy is in existence, and at the end of the month, if you have consumed 1,000 units and you have generated, suppose, 700 units, so you are only going to be liable to pay the electricity bill for 300 units. So considering that, this is the example where your bill has been, it's end up being around 300 units, but there is a possibility that it can go down to 100 units also. There's a possibility it can go down below 100 units also. So when these kind of electricity consumption numbers come up, you also end up getting the benefit of slab, because the power is being charged for different slabs. If you're consuming from 100 to 300 units, you'll be charged maybe 7 rupees or 6.5 rupees. But if you're consuming below 100 units, you will be charged only maybe 5 rupees or 4.5 rupees per unit. So these kind of advantages are also built into the whole energy credit system. And you anyways are like having a huge reduction in your electricity bill, because instead of paying the electricity bill for 1,000 units, you'll only end up paying it for 300 units. So if you are considering that you are paying like maybe 10 rupees a unit, when you're consuming 1,000 units, so you will have a direct impact of 700 units, which will translate to 7,000 rupees, for example. So this is how the energy credit system will improve the return on investment for a business, because the supply cost coming down means their entire product cost also comes down, and the margins will go up because the cost of selling it in the market is not going to go down.
Right.
It helps a lot. Yeah. So on top of that, there is going to be a tax benefit component also, as I said earlier. There's the accelerated depreciation benefit. So that also helps with the return on investment for the business.
Okay, that's lovely. Animesh, in terms of the maintenance requirements, could you share with our attendees what are the maintenance requirements when it comes to solar installations in commercial settings?
Certainly. So in commercial settings, it is very critical to have a maintenance agreement with the vendor with whom you have got the solar system installed. The most critical component when it comes to maintenance of a solar system is going to be cleaning of the solar panels. So cleaning of the solar panels is, it's a very easy task to say, but depending on the type of roof configuration, it can become a very complicated task as well. So when it's a flat roof where it's just a concrete roof and the structure is not very complicated, in that scenario the cleaning task can be easy. But when it's a shed type roof, the cleaning task can be very risky and very tricky, because for someone to walk on the shed type roof and clean the solar panels involves a certain amount of risk, and we have to make sure that those risks are taken care of. So regular cleaning is one of the most critical maintenance requirement. Apart from that, it is very critical to make sure that all the electrical components are inspected on a regular basis, maybe a quarterly basis or a bi-yearly basis or something like that. Apart from the inspection of the electrical components and making sure they are maintained, maintaining the mounting structures that are used to mount the structure is those panels is also a very critical component in maintenance, especially considering that they are exposed to all sorts of different weather conditions. It could be rain, it could be temperature, it could be some kind of, if we are closer to the coastline, it could be any kind of salt and mist factors. So from that perspective, making sure that all the mounting structure components are in perfect condition is very critical. Apart from that, we have to make sure that the performance of the solar system is monitored on a daily basis. To do this kind of a regular monitoring of the performance, it is very critical to have an internet connection to the solar system. And once that is in place, we can set up different kinds of alerts and different kinds of alarms to make sure that if there is any fault in the system, then that can be addressed on a proactive basis rather than a reactive basis. That helps make sure that the loss of the generation is at the minimum. And apart from that, there is some kind of safety inspection that needs to be done on a regular basis also, to ensure that at the interconnection point between the solar system and the existing circuitry, it's very critical to make sure that the connection points are not having any kind of damage to them, or not getting they have to be cleaned and kept maintained on a regular basis. So these are the critical maintenance factors that need to be addressed for a commercial solar system.
Now, talking about challenges, which I'm sure the attendees are more keen to understand in terms of what are the challenges companies can or might face when integrating solar solutions within the existing infrastructure?
That's a very interesting question. A lot of people are unable to understand how does net metering actually work, because they feel that if you are going to connect it with the existing system, then isn't the existing system going to get affected? A lot of the engineers who are dealing with the existing circuitry and infrastructure at these commercial locations, they have this concern that how is the solar system going to sync up with the supply, especially when it comes to the phase and the frequency. So it is very important to check whether the existing system and the solar system will have a certain level of compatibility. And it is not difficult to ensure this compatibility. It is just a matter of making sure the right components are selected. Apart from that, we have to ensure that there is certain sufficient amount of space that is available for installing the additional components when we are integrating with the existing infrastructure. We have to make sure that the load capacity that is available with the existing infrastructure is sufficient to handle the additional installation of the solar system. And this has to be done at a level when the net metering application is being done with the supply company. The supply company also gets involved in the sanction load evaluation and capacity checking. Apart from that, there are certain safety related conditions that could be challenging, especially when it comes to earthing of the solar system and making sure that sufficient earthing is provided so that the existing infrastructure does not get affected. So for that, we have to make sure that the existing infrastructure single line diagrams are studied in details to understand how and where the interconnection point should be. So in some cases, the commercial entities might have a diesel generator in the circuit. So in those scenarios, we cannot just interconnect the solar system on the load side directly, because that will lead to a condition called islanding, which is a very dangerous situation. So to prevent that, we have to connect the circuitry to a different point in the circuitry, like on the supply side. So to connect a solar system on the supply side requires a lot of careful understanding of the existing circuitry. So this could be a challenging parameter as well. So one of the industrial cases where we had to deal with this, we had to actually make it a tri-party activity where the customer side engineer, our engineer, and the supply company side engineer was also present to ensure that the connections are being done in the correct fashion and none of the equipment gets damaged in the process. So these are the kind of challenges a commercial company can face while integrating the existing infrastructure.
Okay, talking about feed-in tariffs, how do they work for commercial solar installations?
So feed-in tariffs is something that is a concept that is not existing in our country as of now. Not a lot of customers are utilizing it. Feed-in tariff is something that's a concept which is existing outside the country right now. What it means is that you have a connection. Your solar generation is directly being fed into the supply system instead of it being a net metering arrangement. So there is a similar sort of arrangement available with certain supply companies over here in some states. It is known as gross metering. So gross metering is something which is very different from net metering. In gross metering, whatever power that you're generating will be supplied to the supply company at a particular set rate, which is established by the supply company. and your consumption is happening at a particular set rate which is already established in the market, and your benefit will be much lower in this case, and it's not going to be financially feasible to go for a gross metering based system unless and until your capacity is in megawatt scale or something like that.
And when it comes to the technical requirement aspect of it, what are some of the requirements for connecting solar panels to the national grid?
So when it comes to connecting solar panels to the national grid, there are certain set guidelines in place by the regulatory bodies, which are making sure that none of the existing equipments in the national grid should get affected by the integration. So they have set out certain guidelines for the kind of quality that they require for the solar panel, for the inverter. Certain facilities that like islanding, anti-islanding is a feature that is supposed to be compulsory in a solar system. What it means is that when the solar system is in operation, it is importing and exporting power. So having the grid active and grid being able to handle the export and import of power. But if the grid goes down for some reason, it could be that there is a fault in the line, or it could be because there is scheduled maintenance. In this kind of a scenario, if your solar system is still operational and it tries to export power, in that case, whoever is working on the line, on the grid line, to make sure that the maintenance is being done or the fault is being resolved, can potentially get electrocuted. So this is one of the very, very, very critical features which is supposed to exist in all sort of solar systems, to make sure that anytime the power grid fails, the solar system should turn off, and islanding situation should not get created, hence the name anti-islanding. So this is a very critical piece of the technical requirement. Apart from that, there are certain requirements as to how much amount of harmonics is allowed when the solar system is operating with the existing national grid. There is a certain percentage that is allowed, and so beyond that is not acceptable. Apart from this, there is a certain requirement for the reactive power, the amount of reactive power that the solar system is going to generate. So usually when it comes to rooftop solar, it has the capability of delivering power at unity power factor. So when it's delivering power at unity power factor, it's a pure sine wave with output. So in that scenario, there is no reactive power available that is coming out from the solar system, that is being supplied from the solar system. So in that scenario, it is very critical that the existing infrastructure is also not having any kind of reactive power. Unless and otherwise they match in this regard, there will be problems. So if there is reactive power on the grid side, and if there is no reactive power from the solar system, there will be lots and lots of harmonics that will be getting created. So to ensure that there is no harmonics, we have to fine tune the solar system to provide some amount of reactive power, or make an arrangement to have some kind of dynamic monitoring of the reactive power, and solar system getting a feedback from that monitoring system, and providing the sufficient amount of reactive power that is required, so that the grid does not have any kind of trouble because of the harmonics that way.
Understood. Now, when it comes to technological advancements, do you foresee any in the photovoltaic systems for commercial use?
So when it comes to technological advancements, there are lots and lots of research and development happening in different aspects of the solar system. There is different components. There is a solar panel, there is the inverter, and then there is batteries. I know we don't talk about batteries when we talk about net metering, but when we talk about advancements in the solar system, batteries are also being considered for the future. So when it comes to solar panels, there are all types of research and development going on to increase the efficiency of the solar cells that are utilized in the solar panels. Different kinds of technologies are being tested, especially like perovskite solar cells, bifacial solar panels. So these are expected to improve the efficiency. When it comes to the I don't know what's the right word for it, but when it comes to the physical aspects of the solar panel, currently it's a very rigid kind of a structure. It's like the solar silicon cells are squeezed in between the glass and the EVA sheet. But in future, people want to move away from this and want to create flexible solar panels. There are some in available in the market as of now as we speak also, but they have not achieved that commercial viability yet, and hence they are not being utilized on a large scale till now. Apart from this, there's a lot of research going on making spray painted solar panels and things like that. So different aspects to improve the usability of the solar panels. When it comes to inverters, there are lots and lots of advancements from the perspective that how they can extract more power from the solar panels. They are even making efforts to find ways to extract solar power from solar panels at the night time. Lots and lots of research is going on to make sure that there's huge amounts of technology advancements to make it more and more financially feasible for customers. Apart from this, when it comes to structures, a lot of different kinds of advancements and researches are going on. There's this one aspect which a lot of people have not considered is the tracking of the solar system. When it comes to tracking, it's a very, very unique concept. What happens is that the solar panels being installed currently are having a fixed angle and fixed location and everything. When we have the tracking technology available, it will actually track the sun. So currently, when the solar panel is having a fixed angle and the sun is going on moving, it is not always getting the sun rays at the direct angle. So when it starts tracking, it will just keep moving with the sun. So always we will get a direct angle of the sunlight, and that will definitely improve the generation by a huge number. And as I mentioned that we are considering batteries for the future. There are different technologies of batteries being innovated, especially when it comes to lithium-ion, when it comes to sodium air. These kind of technologies are still in the works, but once they get implemented, they are going to become a very critical piece because people are not comfortable having to utilize the grid power in the night time. They want to be able to utilize the solar power for the entire day. So that once that kind of a thing happens, we are going to become more and more energy independent. We are going to be becoming more and more cost efficient when it comes to these things. So it's a very bright future we are looking at.
Lovely to hear that, Animesh. Now, let's talk about the compliance part of it. How can businesses, particularly here in this case MSMEs, ensure compliance with local and national renewable energy policies?
All right. So the compliance part for the rooftop solar systems is very, very well established and very, very straightforward. So only thing that a business has to consider when they have to consider compliance is that they have to make sure that the net metering application is followed through and the net metering agreement is signed and in place. When they are doing this, that the supply company is going to take up bulk of the activity that they need to do with regards to the compliance, because there are certain set of rules that are there in place when you apply for a net metering application, and the supply company is going to have a look at those rules, and they're going to let the customer know that these are the rules you need to follow before they can even interconnect the solar system with the supply company's existing infrastructure. So that is one factor which can be easily addressed, and the compliance becomes very straightforward. Apart from this, there are certain compliances related to the structure and the the way the structure can be placed on on a rooftop. So there are certain guidelines in place from the local municipal parties and things like that. When it comes to compliance with the national level, the rooftop level solar systems do not have to worry about complying with the national. They have to just worry about the state level and the local.
Animesh, talking about financing options, this is something that we've discussed in the past as well with our speakers who've spoken about solar projects. But this is a question that pops up time and again in terms of understanding what are the financing options that are available for small businesses while they're investing in solar projects.
Certainly, at the end of the day, if you don't have the money to invest in it, then you're not going to get any benefits. So the different types of financial models available is that first is that you invest the entire money by yourself, where you are doing a capital expenditure on the on the infrastructure, and you're going to get the most amount of benefit out of it. But in the case that you do not have the capital expenditure finance available, then you can go for some kind of a loan from your existing bank with whom you have a very good interaction and connection and things like that. So the loans are there, there are financial institutions like banks and NBFCs out there who are providing very lucrative loans these days, especially since the launch of the recent PM Suryaghar Yojana. Getting finance for the rooftop solar projects has become very, very easy. They have actually created a portal where you apply for the subsidies and things like that, and you have the loan part of it also in the same portal. So it's a very easy to handle but unfortunately, these loans are more catering to the residential segment rather than the commercial segment. But because this kind of loans for the residential segments have come into play, the loans for the commercial segments have become much easier for commercial entities to get, because the banks and the NBFCs are becoming more and more aware of it, and they are more and more aware of the risks and how to mitigate those risks. So they are becoming more eager to start investing in it for and providing loans to the commercial customers also. Apart from this, you can have a operational expenditure model of rooftop solar, where you are not having any investment. Like maybe you will have like a 15% or 20% investment in the solar system, and the rest 80% comes from an investor. So what happens is that for that investment that has been made from the third party, there is a certain fixed amount of outflow that you have to commit to, the customer has to commit to. And there is a fixed tenure after which the plant will be handed over to the customer. So this is also known as leasing model. It's a subset of the OPEX model. And in the OPEX model, there is also a power purchase agreement model. So where in the power purchase agreement model, it's very similar to a large scale solar plant being connected to the national grid or something like that. There's a fixed unit rate that is being agreed upon between the customer and the investor. And based on that, a monthly billing is being done, and the customer is paying only for the power that they are consuming. So this kind of a mechanism is also existing. So overall, there are 4 or 5 different kinds of financial options available for customers to consider, whichever suits them the best.
Absolutely. In terms of incentives, now this is a question that we often face from people who are based across geographies in India. They want to know what are the solar incentives and how do they differ from different states in India.
So when it comes to the residential segment, the incentives for the rooftop solar are very similar across the country, except for the union territories. So when it comes to the subsidy program implemented, the PM Suryaghar Yojana program that is implemented by the government for residential segment of rooftop solar, they have a certain fixed amount of subsidy, like 30% of the benchmark cost, which is going to be allotted to residential customers. And in certain union territories, the subsidy amount can go up to 70% also. So that is a very wonderful incentive program by the government. When it comes to the commercial segment of this rooftop solar system, uh, all the commercial entities have got the accelerated depreciation benefits across the country. So there is no variation in that. Apart from that, the what we have come to understand is that most of the commercial entities, they have a GST registered business. So when they are paying for GST in this for installing the solar system, they are actually able to take offset of that, of the GST that they've already paid against their dues that are still there for the GST. So again, there's no variability across the country. It's a very uniform implementation across the country. So from that perspective, there's not a lot of variations, but there is a lot of solar incentives available across the country.
And my last question to you, Animesh, for today's session is, what are the environmental benefits of adopting solar energy for enterprises?
So this is something that is very close to my heart. This is actually one of the reasons, environmental benefit is one of the biggest reasons is why we are into the sustainability and renewable energy business. So when it comes to the rooftop solar power plants, once they are getting installed, they are reducing the consumption from the supply companies, and the supply companies are providing them power from either coal-fired power plants or gas-powered power plants, and these power plants are ending up emitting a lot of carbon dioxide and different kinds of pollutants in the air when they are producing power. So when you are utilizing power from a rooftop solar system, you are actually reducing pollution indirectly, and hence it is equivalent to planting a tree. So we actually have a mechanism to calculate, if you do a solar system of X amount of kilowatts, then it is equivalent to planting maybe 25 teak trees over a period of 25 years. So you're not only reducing pollution, you're actually doing your bit to improve the conditions for our future generations. So that's a very very beautiful benefit, which most of the time gets sidelined because people are only concerned about the financial benefits, but it is equally important. And in certain cases, like megawatt scale projects, there's actually a financial incentive towards this also. We call it as carbon credits. And that is also something that is being considered which is being utilized very well by large scale power plants to increase their profitability and things like that. Apart from this, when we are having these kind of decentralized power plants which are placed on every rooftop, we are actually saving a lot of costs on the infrastructure, because we will the more we go towards rooftop solar plants, the less we will require larger grids, and having the need to connect with those grids, because as you might be aware that the losses involved in transmitting and distributing power can go all the way up to 20 to 25% at times. So having a rooftop solar plant will reduce the amount of loss that will happen, because the supply company does not need to purchase as much power when it is supplying to you, and that's why the loss will go down. So this helps in creating indirect impact on the pollution and conserving the resources. because the less amount of investment required to create more new grids will help in huge amounts of conserving resources like copper and different kinds of metals and things like that. So that is a very, very unique kind of a benefit that leads to so whenever we think about environmental benefits, most of the time they are not going to be directly visible. They're going to be very indirect, but they end up making that impact, which is actually like even though it may seem like a rooftop solar plant, maybe a 10 kilowatt plant is such a small drop in the ocean, it might appear. But if we end up having that kind of a rooftop solar plant for maybe 100 crore residents, then that impact will be far, far higher than what a large scale solar plant can create. So, this will definitely, these kind of efforts will end up helping in mitigating effects of the climate change also. We end up having a lot of, conservation of water, because there's a huge amount of water that is utilized in generation of power, especially from coal-fired power plants and gas-fired power plants and things like that. So these kind of environmental benefits are existing, and we definitely need to consider them into our calculation also. So hoping that in future they will be getting considered.
With that, we've come to an end for this episode. Animesh, I have to repeat this. The fact that you've always shared detailed insights with our audience and attendees. They always get to know something different. They always get to know something which is more insightful than the previous episodes. So thank you so much for doing that and for bringing that value to our table. It's been lovely having you.
Thank you very much. It's my pleasure.
For our attendees who are online, if you'd like to watch any of our episodes, including this one, please log on to YouTube. You can subscribe to our channel, which is GSW1 MSME, and you will find all our episodes uploaded there, including the current one. So thank you once again.
Thank you.